Hey, everybody, it's Saturday afternoon. Thank you so much for being here on All Access Live. I've got a fantastic group of guests for you today. This afternoon, it's hot and sweaty in Portland, Oregon. So I started sweating maybe because I'm so excited about our guests, or maybe because, my brick wall is melting behind me. So uh, I do want to thank my wonderful sponsor, Five Star Guitars, based in Beaverton, Oregon. They have lessons, they've got repairs, and they also have an incredible selection of guitars that are competitively priced. And if you're finding guitars out there online and you find a great deal on, say, one of those big chain websites, check out their prices and then contact Five Star, because Oregon has no sales tax. So you're going to find a much better deal on a guitar, and you're going to be able to support a local company by going to www.fivestarguitars.com. I was just talking to the proprietor of that store, as he's one of our guests today, and we were talking about the great opportunities they have for lessons. There are pros like Jennifer Batten that you can get great price lessons on a virtual lesson. Jennifer Batten and other guitarists are there. There's another workshop available now, I think, from Danny Oakes, one of their educators, and maybe our guest Geoff Metts wants to talk a little bit about one of those.
All
Thank you
right,
for
all
being
right.
here, buddy.
Hey, well, thanks for having us. Yeah, well, we were talking before this started about Danny's doing this online like group lesson thing, a kind of a master class is like multi-part thing that he's about to roll out. And what I'd be happy to talk about anytime is like, with all that's gone on, people recognizing opportunity rather than just being like down, like, oh, I can't teach. Like, well, we have the technology to do it. And that spurred Danny to put a bunch of like really great material together. And we were able to, kind of help facilitate that. He had like a sold out thing last week, like a one time kind of 90-minute class. But I think this next thing that he's doing is a multi-part thing. But anyway, the point being, one of the things, like, there's so much like kind of doom and gloom out there. I have tried to like really pay attention to people that are just trying to figure out like new ways to make stuff happen and to continue doing the things that they want to do. And I mean, that certainly applies to us, when we'll get into it, like the record that we're making. But yeah, I mean, it's been pretty exciting times at the shop. We opened up and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. Like, we could open up again, but there's been a ton of support. Like, we've had a really, really great support just from people all over the country, but especially like here in town.
Yeah.
So it's been great to see our friends again, and we've managed to, you know, make it a safe environment. Following all those guidelines and trying to, just make it safe for everybody, but still be able to come in and check out guitars and stuff, which is great. I think people need an outlet
Yeah, they do.
as much now than ever.
Probably more now than ever, right?
Right? Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
speaking of getting to see your friends again, I do want to thank your other two bandmates right here. I've got Mike Collins and Dane Ryan on board with us. Mikey, Dane, how you doing, guys?
Doing
Good,
great.
man. Good to be here.
This
Thanks
is
for having us.
almost, it's like being backstage, right? The four of us.
Hanging out.
Totally.
Yeah, you've got your cocktails of choice or whatever you have there on a Saturday afternoon. And well, that wasn't an MRC cup, was it? Oh, nice
Bowie.
start. Oh, Bowie. There we go. Close enough. Yeah, you guys, it's like two,
Yeah.
like of the same ilk. Um, you know, God, we were talking about this just beforehand too, that separately, you guys have these identities that are really well regarded in the Portland area. Dane, you're a Salemite. Mikey, I think you grew up in the Portland area. Geoff, you're an Idahoan, but you guys have all been here for quite some time in your major adult days. In bands in the past, you guys have established your name, but coming together as this sort of super group, if you will, there are a lot of people that are rabid fans. You've got guys like Pete Dalton and Julie Jacobs and all these people that are at every show, supportive of you every time you have a new release, which I think you have a new one coming up we can talk about as well. Video producers, all these people that have worked with you in the past and been very supportive of you. So maybe we can talk just a little bit about your formative years before MRC. I'd love to know from you, Dane. I know that you've got a family rooted in music, and you want to talk a little bit about your past?
Oh boy.
You're on the spot, buddy.
Yeah, I pretty much grew up in a family of musicians, grandparents, great grandparents, mom and dad. That's actually how they met. So kind of playing music in my family, it being such a big thing, um, in a big focus, I kind of kept it a little on the quieter side because I was wrestling and a lot of sports and stuff like that. And then one day I just said, "Hey, folks, you want to come down and see our band play?" And it's kind of been doing it for many years prior to them actually seeing it. But yeah,
Really? Okay.
so yeah,
But
pretty fun stuff.
For the very few people that watch this that had no idea that you were actually the bass player of MRC, have you
Yes.
always been a bassist, or did you have a different instrument that you started on?
I actually always wanted to play drums.
Oh, yeah. All
My
right.
dad was like, "No,
Yeah, not in my house.
not in my house."
Well, your dad's a bassist as well.
So as you can see, but yeah, he said, you can play. It's a cool bridge between, the drums and the melody, and you kind of get to sit in between, and you get to kind of play it like a guitar, but have the rhythmic, of the drums. And I've kind of always tried to grasp that as much as I can. So yeah,
you can hear that in your playing. Actually, that's one thing about you that's so special. And Mike, I'm sure will agree. When you play with you as a drummer, that rhythm section is, man, it's unmovable. When you listen, as a drummer, when I listen to the way you play bass, you play as if you understand the drums really well. And it's so just deeply grounded that you can't move. As a drummer, it's fantastic, man, because it really is, and I hate to get all intimate, but it is kind of like a sexual thing. That
Let's get intimate.
Yeah, so I guess I'm grateful that your dad steered you in that direction. But he was a bassist as well, right?
Yeah,
he's really good too.
Yeah, he still is. In fact, he's filled in a couple times where, like I had another gig and I was going to miss like the first set, so we had my dad do it. He did pretty good. It was he was very excited to do it.
Yeah.
The Jack London gig.
Yes, Jack London, and then usually on his birthday we'll get him up and he'll play a song or two with the guys. Which last time, this last February, it was Ron Artisan was on there with him, so that was real treat for him to get to do that. So yeah, it was cool.
Does your dad have a go-to like cover tune that he does with you guys, or is it an original that he plays?
Anything. I mean, he's pretty much anything that the Ants play, he knows it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's another combination band that we didn't talk about, but Ants in the Kitchen is another thing that you guys have. This collective, this deeply sort of centered core band, and then you guys have some other players in that band too. So Ants in the Kitchen. You've got a funny name for this review. I'm trying to think of what it's. What's the sort of description that you would give that band?
Isn't it Soul Funk Rock Review or something like that?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you got horn section. I know Alan Kalick is in that gig, and who else is in that band?
Scott Raymond.
Oh, Scott.
I forget. It's been so long.
Yeah,
I know.
Then Chris, Everybody Loves Raymond, and
Alan King Toot Kalick.
Yeah, and
King Toots.
and of course Dust in the Wind, Hunley.
Yeah, Hunley.
Yeah, everybody's got a nickname except
for me and Dane.
Oh yeah, well that's just the ones you can't mention on the Zoom chat. So.
They know better. They know better, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had your nicknames here on the Zoom chat. I just changed them.
They were very short-lived nicknames.
That's right. Mr. Collins, you want to talk a little bit about your formative years?
My formative years.
Yeah.
Man, I was a heavy metal guy. I mean, I was bit by the Kiss bug like so many of us. I just realized my headphones aren't even working. There we go. Yeah, man, I grew up on like the new wave of British heavy metal, but then I also power pop like Cheap Trick and the Knack and Blondie and the Cars, So, but yeah, I mean, I've been kicking around this town. I guess my first band was when I was 17 years old with Lorenzo de Vargas, as we all know.
Yeah.
And and then from there, I that was my first band, which was Top 40, and then I got into original stuff, and I don't know, just Harder, Faster, Throwback Suburbia, Skin Horse, Throwbilly, some of those bands.
Harder Faster, you guys had a deal, didn't you? Wasn't there a record deal?
We had a developmental deal with the MCA.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had a publishing deal with Warner Chappell.
Okay.
So yeah, and we had a bunch of labels looking at us, but it was kind of the thing where we were like a year behind the times. You know, that kind of like melodic hard rock pop metal thing was kind of out and grunge was in, and we were kind of stuck in the middle. And we tried to adapt a little bit, but you know, it eventually fizzled. And then after that, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that era of bands too from this area. It seems like Portland kind of got overlooked during that time phase, right? Because it was they were looking at Seattle bands, even though it was Northwest, for the grunge scene. You know, because there were a bunch of Portland bands that got signed in the 70s and 80s, and then it was almost like Portland got overlooked, and everybody looked to Seattle. You know, so it was LA or Seattle, or San Francisco. But that's. Did you guys? Were you all still living here in Portland, or did Harder Faster have a relocation plan?
No, we were all in the Portland area. Ron Chick, Lee Schneider, and then Johnny Stanford replaced Lee, and Michael Flatters. And then we were good friends with, speaking of Seattle bands, with the guys in Dr. Unknown. We used to play together a lot.
Okay.
And then when Ray left that band, I joined Dr. Unknown for about a year.
Okay.
So
I kind of vocals, right?
Yes. Nice. Yeah. And Matt Fox and Chuck Miller.
Okay.
And actually, from Dr. Unknown, we changed the name to Zoom Finger. But we recorded with Kelly Gray and Rick Parashar up at London Bridge, and you know, we're kind of at the end of the grunge thing. So
I just love the band names, Mike.
Yeah, Zoom Finger is one that.
Yeah, Zoom Finger. I was trying to figure out what that one, how that would go.
Skin Horse is my favorite.
Like
Skin Sausage Assassin or something.
Skin Horse sounds so dirty, but it's from the Velveteen Rabbit.
Right.
It's the stuffed animal of the rabbit, or the rocking horse, or something like that.
Sure it is.
And then there was Silicone Jones. My mom hated all my band names. We had Skin Horse, Harder Faster, Zoom Finger, Silicone Jones.
That's what rock and roll is. Rock and roll is all about, making our parents just disappointed in our choices.
Mission accomplished.
Right. Yeah. Well, speaking of somebody that had tons of support from their family, I know, Geoff, man, you grew up in Idaho and had lots of support from your mom, right?
Oh yeah. She's I'm sure calling one of my brothers now to figure out how to listen to this.
Nice.
Like, I can't get it. You're telling me he's on the phone?
Yeah.
Our mama.
He's on TV with Willie Nelson right now.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, why aren't they showing his face? So I went to high school and had some, like, was trying to get a band together in Boise, but when I got up to University of Idaho, I had a couple bands, and that's kind of how I paid my way through school. Like, by the end of that, in those last couple of years, I was playing, and that was the only job I had. So I was just going to music school, and it was a really cool time. I was in this cover band and was doing some original stuff, but in Moscow, because it's a real small town, like, you can't stay there. I mean, you can. It's a wonderful place to live. But if you want to, like, make music and be in that industry, you've got to move to a bigger place. And so I wound up coming out to Portland, and I've had, like, a chance to play with, like, a lot of great folks over the years. I did, like, the singer-songwriter thing because I didn't have a band and nobody knew who I was, and nobody cared about like, oh, you're a big deal in Moscow, Idaho. Like, there was, like, right, yeah.
Big fish, small pond.
Yeah, totally. But anyway, so I moved out here and did that thing, and I played in a couple groups, just trying to, like, figure out how things were going to go. And then I started this band called Western Aerial, and that went, like, and it was a really cool time to really just do, like, rock stuff, like, and it was like, I got out here in 2000, and I remember by, like, 2003 we'd somehow gotten probably, like, Dan Bozick or one of those guys from KUFO to listen to our thing, and next thing we knew we were, like, opening for Korn, in front of 15,000 people or something. And so, this town, like Portland, has been so good to me. And I've now lived here longer than I ever lived in Idaho or anywhere else. And it just, musically speaking, I'm super grateful, including the fact that, there the opportunity to play with like Mike and Dane, because I kind of knew of those guys with their bands. Dane and I had played, Western Aerial playing and Dirty Little Fingers. And so like we'd all met, but it wasn't until, Dane kind of came in. I remember he came into the shop one day and was like, "Hey man, I want to start a blues band." And I was like, "Well, I love blues music, and I always figured that I would get a chance to do something like that." But, I was like, "Well, there's already so many great artists doing strictly that,
Right.
And so as we talked about it more, he was like, "No, no, no, more like, like Stax, Motown, like kind of funky stuff." And when we started talking about it, I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we liked so much of the same stuff." And we really bonded over this Masters of Reality record. And he sent me that, and I was like, "Oh, it's cool. It's got Ginger Baker on it."
Right.
And that's where we got the name. There's a song called "Ants in the Kitchen" that's on the was it Sunrise on the Suffer Bus?
So Surfer Bus, yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
And we had booked a show. Dane and I had put a band together, in the original lineup of Ants, and we didn't have a name, and we needed something quick. It was one of those things where like, I think Fellman put on the first show, and it was like, I need a name by Thursday or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I asked Jeremy, one of my partners, like, "Dude, I need a name." And he's like, "Why don't you take the name of a song from a band that you really like?" And I'm like, "Ants in the Kitchen." And it's actually turned out like really cool, like with the, it was just kind of a cool name that I might not have otherwise thought of, but yeah.
Good job on Jerry, man. I know that, like, you guys have tattoos. There are a bunch of
Oh,
fans
yeah,
that have like,
yeah.
the brand has extended for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, one of the things that's really cool about the way that band came together, I've asked a bunch of questions for guests in the past. Just before we finish up, a lot of times I'll say, put together your dream band. I asked Kenny Aronoff the other day. I said, "Hey man, so what's your dream gig?" Right, and he'll pick, like he wants Prince as the vocalist and the bass player, right? And I mean, sorry, the Sting as the vocalist and bass player. And it's kind of cool to hear these guys come up with their dream gig. You guys kind of did that locally with each other. If you're looking at this core group of guys that are incredible players, but have personality and enthusiasm on stage, you guys are like the go-to for all of that. When you see you play both in MRC and in Ants in the Kitchen, they're such great energy bands. People go out and, we talked about the grunge scene, and back in the day in the 90s, the shoegazing thing was really popular. There is no shoegazing going on with this ensemble of guys right here. The energy is great, but it's so cool that it doesn't matter which group that you guys are in. Even if you put together a completely new group today, there's something about the magic that happens when the three of you guys play together that you can't buy it, you can't script it, it just happens, and I would imagine that is a culmination of your education in the past, Dane, the work that you did with your dad, and Geoff, the millions of gigs that you did going through college, playing all sorts of different music. Mike, I've seen you play in a dozen different bands, and you and I met. It's really funny, Geoff and Dane, you probably know this story, but he talked about Silicone Jones. I didn't live here yet, but I came out to Portland to audition for a couple of bands just to see if I could hold my own.
Did he punk you? He punk you?
No, I got in. So the two bands I auditioned for, Itty Bitty and Silicone Jones, I auditioned. It was so fun. Their band was so cool. And I felt kind of shitty because they called and said, "Hey, yeah, we'd love to have you play drums for us." And I said, "Oh, actually, I don't even live here, man. I was just kind of seeing if I could hold my own." But I'm planning on moving here. And they were like, "Dick move." But they were cool. They said, "Yeah, well, we're going to keep looking then." I said, "Yeah, I won't be out there for another 6 months." By the time I came out, I went to go see him. The first week I came out to Portland, I went out to see Silicone Jones play at Mount Tabor Theater. And who's on drums? But Mike Collins with this big, huge yellow Yamaha drum kit. And it was like a Tommy Aldridge kit.
Yeah.
And you still had the big, flowing, curly hair. And, but I remember seeing you then, loving your drumming. And it was a nice introduction to Portland. It was I think you and I have done the piggybacking on a lot of gigs in the past 20, 25 years, man. But
absolutely.
A lot of stories that we could share offline about. We're talking about relationships just prior to this, and I didn't even think about the other dramatic things that could happen talking about musical connections. But anyway, so Ants in the Kitchen was the first formation of that project. Is that the combination of those elements? Is that really what drove MRC then together? Did you guys decide, you know what, let's do this thing original, this new original project because we gel so well with Ants?
Well,
I wanted to say something real quick. Before I really knew these, I knew these guys, but I was in Nashville and Memphis about 9-10 years ago. I remember being down there and just like being in that scene and so influenced by the juke joints and the blues musicians and stuff. And everywhere you go down the freeway, there's signs dedicated to all these blues legends. And I remember thinking to myself, man, if I were to get into a cover band, I would want to do something that did Motown and Stax and classic R&B and soul. And literally like about a month later, Throwback Suburbia did a show with Stone in Love.
Okay. And
Dain comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, our drummer Edwin, what's that?
How did he say it? Did he say, hey, man?
He said it like Maury Brown. I did.
Okay.
But
hey, man.
So Dane's like, hey, would you like to fill in some shows for Ants in the Kitchen? And I'm like, there's so much synchronicity here, because I was just thinking to myself, like, that's the kind of cover band I would want to be in. And 8 years later, here we are. I just wanted to throw that out there. There was really a strange, it was synchronicity, man. I was like in Nashville and Memphis, digging that scene, listening to all that music. I went to Sun Studios, went to Graceland, blah, blah, blah. And a month later, I'm playing in that kind of a band. So it was pretty cool.
Nice.
Back to you, Kevin.
No, well played. I was just thinking, because I guess I didn't realize that was 8 years ago. And I remember seeing a bunch of those early gigs too, and it was cool because you had a little bit of a rotating lineup where you had different backup singers and you had different horn section, but the set list kept evolving into just really cool danceable stuff. And I don't remember, but I thought I remembered an original coming out of that era too. Did you guys write something original that you first started playing then? Was it maybe yours?
Not when I met them.
We never really. We were talking about it, and we're still talking about it. Yeah. Honestly, there's a song that originally I'd written and kind of thought of for Ants that wound up being like a song that we recorded as like MRC that will come out on this next record that we're doing. I'd like to do it. The cool thing about that band is that like everybody's a great player. Everybody's great at what they do.
Right.
And, I love that kind of music. We all do. But to be able to like get to the chorus and to actually have like a real horn section come in and then like to play authentically, I feel just so fortunate. Like that's been such a great run, like a long time. And we played a lot of like great music and guested with, like I had a lot of like great people come in and play with us too. Right. So really fortunate. It was a cool opportunity. Well, it still is. It's not over yet.
Yeah. It feels like so long, right? How long has it been since you guys gigged?
Oh, geez.
February.
Well, I thought we played something in early March.
I think it was early March.
Either way, it's been
too long.
At least 4 or 5 months.
4 months.
So how did the MRC thing come through that? Was it was it just like, all right, we can't really introduce the original vibe, or how did I understand where the name comes from, of course, but well, okay, here I'll take that one. Yeah, jump. Feel free to jump in. So we had talked about it, and but we'd never rehearsed. We never really like jammed or anything. And it was just the fact that like Mike, Dane, and I had now played like 100 shows together, and we knew this shared catalog of like really great music, and so we were toying around with the idea like, oh, let's do a rock band.
So one day, Dane calls me. He's like, "Hey man, I booked a show for our original band." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, we were gonna do this this thing as ants." And we were talking with aforementioned Maury Brown, like, "Hey man,
Yeah.
Hey man, I'd
so
really like you guys to do this. You know?
and he was like, and Dane was like, "Yeah, we'll do it." And he's like, "Well, like ants just played here or whatever the objection was." And Dane was like, "Well, no, it's our original band. It's me, Mike, and Dane. Or well, yeah.
Yeah.
Me, Geoff, and yeah." So anyway, like, it was like 5 weeks out, and it was a cool idea, but I was like really nervous. I'm like, man, that's
I'm like,
quite
we
a
can do
challenge,
this.
right?
We can do it.
Yeah. I mean, but
Yeah, we got this.
easier said than done, right? I mean, that's kind of like, okay, so write, then go play live, and you got 5 weeks. So anyway, I was like, just processing all that information, and I was like, then it occurred to me, I'm like, well, what did you call it?
Right.
He's like, Metz Ryan and Collins. I was like, all
Maury
right.
made that up. He just said, hey, like,
But fucking Dane made it up.
oh, okay.
Right on the spot, because Maury was like,
Well,
hey,
I was
man.
I was sitting at my computer, and there was I was at the office, and Maury was asking me about this, and I was looking at my attorney's website or whatever, so it was like Smith Freed, Everhart, or something.
Right.
So he goes, or whatever it was.
Nice plug.
Yeah, I don't know if that's him or not, but yeah. So anyway, I looked at it. It was like Metz, Ryan, and Collins. I mean, it was just like as soon as he asked, it was like Metz, Ryan, and Collins, and I didn't even know if it would stick or not. But yeah.
Well, it was nice of you to put the drummer last again. And,
Yeah.
Well, we call it Mr. C sometimes.
Mr. C.
Yeah, Mr. C.
I'm sure you probably have people that think that when they first see it too. You've had, booking agents or
Oh yeah.
people out there that say, so what's the deal with the Mr. C? It's like people mispronouncing your name, Geoff. I am sure that you have to tell people your pronunciation every day of your life. Yeah. And even people that I know you really well still say, hey, can you tell your buddy Geoff that I need to go and pick up a guitar? And
I feel like sometimes they just don't like, or like, well, maybe he's just playing a joke on me.
Right.
Like I'm like just fucking with him, trolling.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
oh no, it's Geoff.
Right.
Yeah.
But so the Metz Ryan Collins thing, it came as an accident, really. You're probably the first band in history that came up with it based on, surfing attorney websites. I think that's not the first place I go when I look for inspiration for music.
It just happened to be there.
You know what's cool about it though? Like, there's so much precedent for that though, like Beck, Bogart, Appice, or Crosby, Stills and Nash, or
Emerson,
whatever,
Lake
right?
and Palmer.
Yeah, totally. So like when I didn't think of it in terms of like it sounding like a construction company or a law firm or whatever. Like what I thought of was those bands, like that type of thing. So there was precedent for it.
Sure. And you guys, as I mentioned, you guys already have a brand established in the Portland area. You've gotten outside the area and done well. I know that you guys went down to Los Angeles. You played the iconic Whiskey A Go Go. When you went down there, I knew that was a bucket list item that you talked about, Geoff, for a long time. It's just bringing your original project down to the whiskey, right?
Yeah, well, it was such a, like, on the West Coast, it's like
Yeah.
the iconic like rock and roll venue,
Yeah, I mean, it's like CBGB's or
totally, yeah.
When that happened, because that was 5 or 6 years ago, right? You guys had already played.
Yeah, the first time,
Yeah, and I know that there's some video, some cool footage, but you guys did a video for Oregon, right? The hit song that you guys put out, that was the first single that you guys put out, right? And it's such a great tune, but it was kind of cool that you represented the Northwest by showing up the whiskey and doing a video for Oregon.
But you know what's even cooler, man, is how many people flew down from Portland to come see us. And some people even just for like one night.
Right.
Right.
And it was like it was the kind of overwhelming to like, we're in LA and we're we played a show and we're at this place where everybody's played, and then we went up the street to the Rainbow, and went up to the upstairs bar, and we were
Yeah.
like hanging out there, and it was like I almost had to like pinch myself. What I actually did, like things were so good that I actually like left and I went downstairs and I sat with this other table, and they were like, I was like, hey, you mind if I join you? And I go, sure. And I was like, you wouldn't believe this, but I'm down here, and we just played at the Whiskey, and my band's amazing, and we were up there with just a room full of friends, and it's the fucking best night ever, and they were like, well, what are you doing down here? And the fucking the same guys from from that table came upstairs and met with us. It wasn't even private, but there were so many people from Portland that we took it over.
That
It
is
was like
so
it was like a party, like it could have happened at.
Yeah, we got up in that crow's nest, remember?
The Hollywood
yeah.
Vampire Crow's
Yeah.
Nest. Yeah.
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 How did you guys all fit, man? That thing is so tiny.
Well, there was
I took-
it was just the four of us and,
Oh,
and
okay.
a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these were strangers that you went down and sat with at the table?
Well, it was really overwhelming. Again, because like Mike was outside, and he was talking to
The bouncer.
Earl Slick,
Oh, good.
who was saying like
On the phone.
Yeah, we were talking
Oh.
to like on the phone.
Earl was not bouncing at the Rainbow that night. Okay.
not that night. He had the night off. But the thing of it was like we were super excited getting there. We played the show, and that was super cool. And then we're walking up to the next place, and you're still kind of processing like all the great stuff that had just happened.
Yeah.
And then, Mike's on the phone. Was like, oh man, just talk to Slick. He loves the record. He wants to record with us, which we ended up doing later.
Yeah.
But like, it was just, I'll never forget it, because it was like this one, it wound up being a few nights, but that one in particular, the first time that we did it, it was like my Hollywood moment. Like all of a sudden, everything was possible.
Yeah.
And we were there, and we were just doing it, and like our friends were there. It was amazing. Yeah.
I love the idea of walking up to strangers at a table of strangers saying, I hope you don't mind, I just have to share this pinch me moment with somebody that's not all
Right.
part of that circle, right? And
I just needed a second. Well,
Yeah.
that's maybe something you didn't know about me. I don't know that I've ever mentioned it to anybody, but like I just needed like a second to like be like, okay,
yeah.
this is happening. Like,
Right.
Let's enjoy this in the moment.
It's good that you recognize that and that you don't get caught up in it, because a lot of times when you're so on the go and you got that gig and, you have to think about it on the way home, and it's not the same opportunity to really appreciate it. Right. So, one of the things I said prior to the conversation, I try not to have anything scripted, but I was thinking about how much people know you in the music scene here. And everybody knows Geoff from Western Aerial or Ants in the Kitchen. You guys all with Ants in the Kitchen, Dain with Stone of Love, and Mike with all the bands you've been in the past. I was trying to think of things that you might be able to tell people that nobody might know, and it doesn't have to be, just bleed your heart out in front of everybody. But Mikey, you and I have had some really great, substantial conversations sitting down just one-on-one. Is there something that you think maybe an experience you had with Lozo back in the day, or maybe early formative years that you wanted to share with people that they wouldn't get from a superficial conversation at, say, the Gemini?
Yeah, I got a Lozo story. I was going to say I'm pretty open, almost probably to a fault, but so I don't know. But yeah, Lozo was staying when I was, probably 17 or 18 when we were in a band together. He stayed with me for, I think, a week or so. And there was one time where we were always playing pranks on each other, like, pouring cold water on each other when we're in the shower, not together.
Right.
Okay.
Specify.
But,
That was cool.
Anyway, so yeah, I remember one time my grandma was over and Lorenzo walked out of the bathroom and walked into the living room in his underwear. And so that
was not the last time, though.
No,
Yeah.
it became a thing after that. No, anyways, there's a Lozo story. I'm sure there's so many. I've been on the road with that guy so many times with different bands throughout the years. Most of the stuff I probably shouldn't talk about.
Mention, you know what? Tell people about the Earl Slick connection, because that's a really cool thing too.
Yeah, that was after Harder Faster broke up. I found out that he was living here in town, and he'd already played with a couple other guys in town, and things weren't working out, whatever. And he came, speaking of itty bitty, he came over to Greg Whitehead's, remember our studio?
Yeah.
Where they had they stored all their paint supplies, but they also had a rehearsal and recording studio there. So apparently Michael Flatters was over there hanging out with those guys, and Slick was there. And so they met. And as I remember, Michael played our Harder Faster CD for Slick, and Slick loved what he heard and said we should get together and jam. So a few days later, I got a call from Slick saying, hey man, I like your drumming, you should come, let's do something together. And this is before the internet, so he couldn't send me MP3s of his music to listen to. So he's like, go to Tower Records, my solo album's out, you know.
Oh,
so
that's how he gets you.
Yeah, so I go to Tower Records, I get a CD, I bring it home, I open it up, and it says drums, Terry Bozzio. And I'm like, oh no, no man. And it was actually some of the more understated drumming of Terry Bozzio, but there was still his crazy stuff, his just otherworldly playing as well. So I learned a handful of songs. We got together and we started rehearsing at our studio, and we wrote some originals. We did a bunch of Bowie and John Lennon and other bands that people he had played with. And we played about a handful of shows, and then he got called to go to Lake Tahoe and start playing with David Coverdale. So it was short-lived. It was less than a year, but we've been friends ever since. And he's like Geoff was saying, he's played on MRC stuff. He's played on a couple of my solo songs, and we still keep in touch and whatnot. So
that's those relationships are so important, man. I mean, all the connections, that one of the things about Oregon and Portland bands, they're so different than say the LA scene. LA is such a tough nut to crack for so many musicians that go down there. We've all known guys that have gone down there and then come back with the tail between their legs, or Nashville, same kind of thing, right? They go to Nashville thinking I'm a great songwriter, and you go out and find out that even if you're a great songwriter, there are millions of great songwriters out there and they've already got the gig. And so unless you have those connections, relationships that you've built, it's just, it's almost impossible, so the ability to communicate and be a good bandmate and a good hang is so important.
Absolutely.
So it's cool that you established that with Earl. Then you got the gig at the Whiskey. You're calling Earl from the Rainbow and making that next connection happen. You dug the record, and and paved the way for future opportunities.
Totally.
So when that album first came out, I knew Oregon was great anthemic song for you, and I know that it's almost something now that you have to do. It's like,
I look forward to it every time.
It's
my favorite song to play.
Right.
It's a great tune. Thinking about the songwriting, because you guys are all songwriters in your own right. So every one of you guys has written songs on your own. How do you guys sit down and formulate songs for the next record? Do somebody come up with a riff and then share it with the other guys, or do you guys just sit down, the three of you, at the same time? Or what's your plan?
I feel like we can do it anyway. I mean, every song's maybe a little bit different, but we started getting together here recently and decided to write some new tunes. And as just one example, Dane came in with this bass riff and was just playing this thing, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then Mike just started playing and knew how to do it. I mean, just I think because we've had so much shared experience and so much shared material, we've seen so many bands together, and everything that would we just know how to, I can just throw out anything and they'll go after it. So Dane came up with this thing that was really different, than anything we'd ever done before, but it was also really cool. And Mike went right into it, was doing the thing, sounded great. And I came up with something. I was like, oh, it's really good.
Yeah.
And, it was just that easy. I mean, I don't mean to downplay it.
No.
I think this is the fruition of, all of us playing for so long and, being of the same mindset of let's serve the song. Let's, we played so much. So
Well, I
There's
mean,
a
what do we
certain
get?
intuition.
How many years do we have playing in the same bands, the three of us?
Right. Well, if you're all 28,
I mean,
Right. I was
Right.
gonna say, like, well, you know, Mike's
Yeah.
been playing for
But I mean,
50 years, and
it's probably the longest we've ever all played in the same band together.
yeah.
You
Well,
know?
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I guess, you know, I've been in a band with you before, Geoff. You really are, you're a prolific writer. You do, you know, you come up with riffs all the time. It's just a natural thing that you do. You got this innate sense of melody. And, but, you know, I hear the way Dain writes parts. You know, I've seen where even if you're in between songs, say at an Ants gig, and Dain will just start like playing this groove. And it's just such a cool melodic line, but it is really unique. Dain, do you have an inspiration? Is there one bass player that you grew up with just thinking, I totally derive everything from this cat besides your dad?
Well, I mean, I'm going to go to the
Bobby Dahl from Poison.
I was gonna say,
Well, I mean, I've always been a huge Victor Wooten fan. I always have been since he first came out, and then Jocko. Before Victor Wooten, it was Jocko, and I actually have a bass that I took some frets out of trying to get that sound.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those are my two people, you know.
Cool. You can't.
Yeah.
Can't-
I mean, there's so many good players, dude. So many good players.
For sure, but you know, it's always interesting for me to hear an influence that way, you know, because Mike, you and I have talked a lot about our drumming influences,
Right.
But knowing, Dain, that your interest first was drums, it's interesting for me to think about who you took ideas from as a bassist, you know, because as a drummer, you know, we have our favorite.
All the thumbs in the fingers, you know.
Yeah, so Bobby Dahl, it was Mike's favorite. That's cool. We got, you know, I love the song creation sort of stories from somebody, because you guys seem to be writing all the time, even during a pandemic. You know, you guys independent stuff. And, so has that changed a little bit, where you guys are writing at home and then sending each other riffs through the web and saying, hey, check out this bass lick that I came up with, or, you know,
We were recorded on our cell phones and send stuff to each other.
okay.
You know, then we'll get together and work on something, and then we'll record it on our phones, and then everybody goes on it. I mean, it's really cool.
we've been doing stuff too, where like
Oh yeah.
we'll record like digital versions of it and send it to each other as MP3s, and then, you know, they can send like a WAV file. Like Mike's done that a handful of times, you know, like sent a WAV file to me, and I can just throw that into GarageBand, or like you know, during the pandemic, we didn't have anything else to do, you know, like we already missed 15 shows, you know, or whatever. And so like, I think that creativity it just happens anyway.
Sure.
So that was kind of my thing. It was like, well, let's keep writing, and let's keep, you know, making these home recordings. And I kind of got really into that, and then cataloged some stuff. And I know that Mike was still working at home. Dain was still working at home. So we started sharing ideas that way. Like, you know, like, hey, here's this thing. What would you do with the drums? And it happens like, you know, virtually, or we're able to share those files, even though we're in separate places. It still works.
Yeah.
You know, like I can throw something out to Mike, and it's cooler and more authentic than what I could like program, right?
Sure.
And same way, like I mean, I can play a bass, but it just doesn't sound as cool. It's not as like pocket feel, and it's not.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
As I was gonna say, as Mike would do when I have him play bass.
Yeah. Nothing like the real thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like it's kind of the thing. Like we've been sharing ideas, and then you know, recently we've been able to like actually get together and try that stuff out. So,
When you say like throw stuff out, so you're getting together in the same room, and it's like socially distant, and
yeah. I mean, we were all, you know, really wanting to play, but at the same time, you know, it was like kind of a safety first thing, and so I don't know, what, like 4 weeks ago.
I don't think we got together till end of May or something like that.
Yeah.
We were. Yeah.
It's a strange thing, isn't it?
And we got together.
to see each other so much, and then all of a sudden have
Oh, dude,
break.
yeah,
And I
it's
said,
crazy.
yeah. I stopped by Geoff's house, and across the couches with my mask on, and I thought,
Right.
it feels so odd for extroverts, especially. I mean, it just somebody that depends on energy from
Right.
people like myself. This is as close as I can get is through the screen. But the the great thing, I mean, really, we're blessed by technology, right? That you guys can still be able to put your parts together, virtually, even in your own rooms. So,
Right.
the new record, you've been working on it for like a year now, right? And do you feel like the songs are together? And
Well, there's
yeah.
kind
We
of.
recorded. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say there's almost like two parts of it though,
okay,
because we put together like 4 tunes that we were gonna release in May. I mean, they were done at the end of last year.
and you were just going to release those as like an EP?
Yeah, that's what we
Okay.
were thinking.
Yeah.
And then we would just book some shows and play, do a bunch of summer dates and just figure it out. But when we realized that we couldn't, I mean, we could have put it out as is, but it just seemed like,
There's
let's
no
just hold
show.
off a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Dane? Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, I mean, we can't have a show, so let's
Right.
just keep recording and, see what happens. you
Yeah.
know?
This new frontier of performance is a strange thing for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I've been talking to so many friends offline about their gig opportunities. If they've got a gig booked at a drive-in, or our guitarist from A Flock of Seagulls is up in Toronto. His band Spoons is booked for a riverboat gig where people line, I guess, they line the side of the river and watch the boat goes by. And the drive-in idea I think is a cool idea if people can stay contained in their cars or whatever. I don't know if they honk when you finish a song or how they show, but if you guys are like me, you depend on some energy from the crowd, right? There needs to be something that gives back.
Yeah.
And so it's like the virtual concerts, people in one room where you're sharing something electronically with a screen, it's certainly not the same. But
Right.
from a fan point of view or from a patron point of view, people are really, really dependent on live music as a way to sort of fortify their life, or kind of they're stressing. So when you see bands that are out there that are playing gigs and maybe getting flack for playing a live show, you understand at least why they're doing it, why people are flocking to go see a show, even if it's not safe. It's it's a tough quandary to find a way to be able to perform and still or enjoy a show, right? So
Right.
do you have any plans to do any kind of like acoustic sort of socially distant shows in the near future?
I mean, nothing booked at a time because we don't know what's going to happen.
Sure.
But what we did is kind of took that energy, and with everything that's going around too, like what's going on in the world is so turbulent,
Yeah.
and there's so much, chaos and creativity as a result, that we were talking about it. We got together, had some great ideas, and then called up Han, and we're like, well, let's put this in the studio. That was kind of the idea. So I don't know when we're gonna play live again, other than we booked a TV show or something.
Yeah. End of August, that thing that Lorenzo's part of, and Bobby Pilata, I think it is his name.
Yeah.
Northwest Talent Spotlight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool that they're doing that, because
It's awesome.
No, it's amazing.
They just got a lot of new gear, and I've been watching their productions, and that is an outlet for people. The band gets to play. There is some distance. It looks like the production guys are keeping their distance, and they've got masks on, and they're really trying to be safe and secure. But it does give people that are desperate for your music an opportunity to get to see play rather than just listen to a recording, right? So
Right.
when is that show happening?
Last weekend of August.
Okay. So do you think that the songs, you mentioned you had 4 together already prior to the pandemic. Is there enough that you can put together a full set of new material for that show?
Yeah, I think we've got 5. I think we got 5 new ones that we're working on.
We're
Okay.
gonna record the second weekend of August.
Okay. With Kevin.
Yeah.
Primal-
So
Primal?
Yeah. Probably.
yeah.
Okay.
So the plan is we'll load in that Friday, record Saturday and Sunday, and then have kind of the basic stuff
Sure.
You know, I mean, yeah, maybe I should rephrase that. It's like, so we get in there Friday, like Sunday between 9 and 12, we'll record everything and
Sure.
then just go get lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, man,
That's all it takes.
I'm glad.
Yeah. It's
He
easy.
just hits record. You got well,
Yeah.
okay. For some bands, it certainly takes a lot more, but I think you guys have so much dialed. The intuition is there, and the you know, like you feel each other out metaphorically. But Kevin Hahn is he is like you know, he's almost like that unspoken fourth member of MRC in a lot
Yeah.
of ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah, he is.
A great
He
engineer.
is.
And when he's recording you guys, I would imagine, I haven't been in there when you guys are recording, but I would bet that there's so little that he has to do as a producer in order to get your guys' best takes. You know, I would imagine that he can just kind of like let you guys do your thing.
Well,
We just make him leave. We just make him leave. He comes back a few
Yeah.
hours later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go get us some coffee.
What was it again? Space bar?
No, you know, like I feel like the relationship that we have with Kevin. I mean, there's not much for him to do, but at the same time, like he does a lot. It just in small suggestions, and because there's that built-up trust, right? Like
Right.
you come up with a song, you've got an idea, you already had an arrangement, you're already playing it. But if you trust the person that's producing it, engineering it, then you're open to that idea. And if they say, hey, how about this? How about we try, you know, like let's cut this re-intro a little short, you know, like just go, you know, 2 measures instead of 4 measures, getting back into the second verse. Like, okay, cool, let's do it.
He really does have that incredible ear for that. And he's so diplomatic. You know, he's one of
Yeah.
those guys.
Oh,
that- really, I mean,
yeah.
because we've all been in the studio with people that are a little more militant, and he's got such a delivery that gets the best out of you without feeling like you're being strong armed, you know?
That's the thing. That's what's great. I mean, like I think has really pushed us, but he also knows when we've hit a plateau of like,
Sure.
okay, let's take a break. You know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. I just met with him on
Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah. And we were working on the song I was talking about earlier that was like really kind of different than what we'd done, which is super cool, and I cannot wait to try this, like live and just to have people hear it. You know, like he had mentioned, he came down, saw us rehearse, we played the tunes for him. He had some ideas, just a couple, you know, like how about this, how about that, and then he mentioned to me like hey, if you wanna get together, you know, I'll give you a hand with this. We got together, and no kidding, like there was just one note in the melody of like, so the arrangement, everything that Mike was playing, everything that Dane was playing, everything that I was playing, like all the music, great. I just like this one particular tune, I was like, I just want this to be the most amazing thing in the world ever, like
Yeah.
best music ever. And so, like, I was like, I'm struggling. But in the process of like knowing that I had to go meet with him on Wednesday, I was like, all right, I'm gonna write some words. I'm gonna get this down. And I tried a few times, and I cobbled something together. I was like, yeah, this is good. And then, you know, because I didn't want to show up empty-handed. Not that I couldn't have, but like I just wanted to be like, hey man, here's an idea. Now let's change it or do whatever. On this one, like he changed one note, just the first note. I was like, how about you just move it to this? Rest of it seems cool, you know. And then it was like, you know, tell Mike and Dane they're doing great. You know, it's like, Geoff, you work on your stuff. Mike and Dane are great. But you know, I'm super excited about this new stuff that we're working on, and I think it's the product of like 3 guys that are normally playing a ton of shows, and are, you know, like it's sort of pent up and focused. Like
Yeah.
we're writing great stuff, you know. Really exciting for us, at least. I don't know. Maybe
Well,
people won't like
I mean,
it.
obviously, it is for fans too. You've got a lot of people that are excited for the new music to come out. You know, whenever people talk about their favorite bands in the area, it's always been a band that you guys have been in, and now it's the Metts Ryan Collins thing, which Another really cool thing about what you guys have done that most bands hadn't focused on was you've got really interesting artwork on the first two records. You know, I love what you guys have done. I think, you know, both the idea and the concept, but also the execution of the artwork. I love it. I'm going to share some of that while we talk about. You want to talk about who you went to?
Oh man,
Merrill.
our good friend
Merrill Hale,
Hale.
baby.
He came up with the logo. You know what we were talking about. You know, it kind of sounds like a law firm, right?
Right.
That's Ryan Collins. Um, we had tried to come up with. We had somebody else take a stab at first. The same dude that did the ants logo, like the digital version of it,
Sure.
and it it looked to us like too much like that. Like, it's a law firm, it's a construction company, it's a whatever. Merrill came up with the idea of like, the T, L, and S, or wait, go back. Well, oh, T, R.
Yeah. I was looking for the first record. I was going to see if
Yeah,
it's in here.
T, Y, and L connecting together, and it like when you see that
There you go.
logo,
Yeah.
it's like that's a rock band. That is
Right.
not, or perhaps the coolest law firm ever. Either way, there's like, man, these guys
Yeah.
are doing it and
These
doing it
guys are.
style.
Yeah.
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 But like, so that was the thing. Like, we're not graphic artists, but we also just know when it's right.
Yeah.
And Merrill came up with that, and when he showed us that, it was like all of us were in.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man. Merrill is one of those guys that he's very humble. I love this transition too. I mean, everything about this speaks homegrown. You've got the relationship to the Northwest. You've got the City of Roses and Mount Hood and the antlers and the bear and that
Yeah.
the wood burn too. The wood. This most recent record came out almost 2 years ago. Is that right?
Jeez. Yeah, in September, I guess.
Okay.
September 21st, it'll be
Yeah.
2 years. It's crazy.
Yeah. So for the newest, you were talking about doing an EP, and you feel like you're going to go now that you've got more songs written? Are you going to do another hard release, or you want to do just digital?
Actually, I'm
Both.
glad you asked.
Both.
Yeah, both.
Yeah, both. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like this is like such a great collection of tunes. Like, and I'll preface this with like, we're so excited about it. Like, just genuinely, like, there's really great stuff. I thought that about the first stuff too, and so combining them all together, I'm super excited to be able to have something physical, tactile that you can hold on to. And we've always kind of been about that. And we're going to figure out, like, despite the times, we're going to still make it a, great summer of making music. And when the time is right, we'll put it out and get back to some sweaty rock and roll shows.
There is something about the live show that people have to see, but I'm glad you're going to do a tactile, physical product, because I think the vinyl, it's great to be able to have a vinyl copy of MRC records.
Yeah.
There's something about that with the liner notes and the artwork, and especially with you guys, that makes it special. I was going to ask too. This is a strange question. I talked about like your dream bands. One special thing about you guys is that stylistically, you guys have this root in blues, gritty American rock, and even there's the big pop choruses too. If you had to pair yourselves up, and maybe I'll have each one of you guys come up with an idea. If you could think of a band that you would go out and tour with, maybe a big international band, modern day or in the past. If you said, Beatles were a perfect pair for us to go out tour. Mm-hmm. But who do you feel like you guys would best align with in terms of their audience connection and music style? So
for me,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say for me it would be Rival Sons.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they've got
that.
that British bluesy Zeppelin-y swagger.
Sure.
And as far as classic stuff, definitely Humble Pie, The Faces, AC/DC,
Yeah.
you know, all that stuff that we're influenced by for sure.
I could completely see that.
Yeah.
Any different, Dane? Have
No, I mean, I totally agree. We've talked
Yeah.
about this. And
Poison.
Yeah, Poison. Bill Biv DeVoe. No, but yeah, I mean, I definitely think the Humble Pie and, you know, all that stuff Mike said, I agree 100%.
Rattle Sun's a great
Faces.
one. Yeah, I could see
Faces,
Rattle
yeah.
Sun being a good modern day.
Yeah, totally.
Any others, Geoff, that you could think? How about a modern day band, Geoff, that you think you could align well with?
Oh, well, there's lots of cool bands like Rival Sons, and you know, it's the great thing about now is that there's every kind of genre coming out all at once.
Right.
But you know, I just wanted to, not to duck your question here, but I just wanted to talk a little bit more about what Mike said. Like the three of us went to go see Rival Sons,
Oh, did you together?
and the three of us have gone to see lots of bands together.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you do that as a band and you have the same experience and you can talk in those terms, because when, you know, if we talk about like, oh, you know, more the snare sound of this, or like,
Right.
you know, kind of more like guitar tone like that, like it's one thing to say like slightly more distorted with, you know, bumped mids but if you're just like, no, more like the Black Crowes and less Oasis,
There's
that
another
means something, you know?
Right.
You know, like that kind of thing. And yeah, so getting back to it, if we could play with the Black Crowes when they come out, because I think we all had tickets in August and it's canceled. But if the Black Crowes are listening,
Yeah.
give us a
Yeah,
shot.
totally.
Let's do this.
Yeah. Are the brothers, Chris and Rich, are they still they back together?
They were
again?
just here. They were just here at the Doug Fur a few months ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rich.
Well,
Yeah.
well, Chris or Rich, but not together, right?
Right.
No, they
Yeah.
were together.
Were they really?
What? At the
Yeah.
Doug Fur?
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right. I was thinking that would never happen again, but that's cool.
Yeah.
That's-
Well, I
good on-
had tickets to see him at the Sunlight
Amphitheater.
Sleep
Yeah.
Amphitheater Camper Moto deal. The outdoor super reflective
pretty sure, yeah.
Ville.
I was talking to a guest the other day. I think it was Kelly Lemieux. Kelly said, "Yeah, the Sleepy Time Amphitheater."
Yeah.
Like, it's the worst named amphitheater on the planet, and the
Oh,
worst to
man.
get in and out of too. But
Yeah,
Oh,
I hear that.
but
Horrible.
that's all right, man. Nobody's going there at all now. But
Yeah.
yeah, Black Crows would be
Sleepy
a
Time indeed. Well, Black Crows. Oh man,
Black
we
Crows,
even
Rival
know some of
Sons.
their songs. It'd be so easy for us to guest with them, right?
Oh my
This is the
God,
opening
yeah.
act. We could just like, hey, Jeff plus, you know,
Jeff.
whoever else.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus two.
What song would you
Jeff and the
play?
gang.
What would you play if you got one song with Black Crows? What would you want to play?
Jealous.
Ooh.
All right.
Or well, look, we know a bunch, but we've been doing Jealous Again, and we've as MRC
like Remedy.
we've done a couple.
How about have them play one of ours?
Oh,
Totally
Good
plausible.
word.
yeah.
In the multiverse, anything can happen.
We
Mr.
played. I was gonna say we played twice as hard as MRC.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
That was at our first show we did it. Like
Yeah.
okay, so getting back to make it full circle,
Yeah.
we had 5 weeks to do it, right? So we wrote 5 original tunes that are documented. Like you can actually see this because like it was filmed. But then we needed some more to cover the 40 minutes or whatever that we needed. So we did, among some other tunes, Twice as Hard. And it was really cool. And the Han played with us at that. I think that's out there
The Han.
somewhere.
The Han.
The Han.
The Han.
Hansi.
And so like, hey.
Hansi.
That's right.
So anyway, yeah, like that's I don't know, just like a really great memory of how we got started, like putting those songs together. And there's one from that original set that we're about to record.
Really?
That from the original batch of tunes.
Yeah.
That you know, I'm just super excited that we got the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, man.
We always do it live, and it's always been out there, but it's just kind of been
Which
sitting
one is
around. It's called "Say What I'm Thinking."
Oh.
It's on the acoustic,
Yeah,
like live at the old
the old
church.
church. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Oh,
uh, but it's never been recorded like, electric. So
that
seems
would
like a
be.
good thing to do.
I was actually just listening to that live at the old church. It's such a cool paring down of the band. This is a complete, this is an ADD moment, but I just got a note from Cheryl Bland wanting to know about Dane Ryan's fly fishing hobby. She said, "Why fly fishing? And did you catch anything?"
I caught 2 yesterday, and they weren't keepers. So
Oh, all right.
yeah. I've been fly fishing for years.
You look like a pro. Growing up in Montana,
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the casting. You've got it down, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you.
And
He's good with his wrists, man.
yeah, that we all know. Geoff, it's got to be wonderful too to be known for one phrase. And Ashley, Mike's compadre in massage. Ashley Dawn Franklin says shots, which is
Shots.
that's all I think
Shots.
Ashley Dunn Franklin, I
Yes.
love you.
of.
Me too.
You know what, you guys? I feel like anytime that there's an extra hour in the day, we could hop on and just rap about this kind of stuff because
We should.
Yeah.
like what we all need, and not just the four of us, but what everybody seems to be needing right now is just a little positive distraction, and you're all doing it in your own right. It's really
Well, so are you, man. Thanks for putting this together.
Yeah,
It's cool.
dude. Yeah, totally, dude.
it is a
You're
selfish thing.
natural, brother.
Oh, I like to gab, but it's nice to be able to see you guys' faces, and when it's an opportunity for us to get back in the same room, even if it has to be with masks, I look forward to doing it. Knowing that we've got some MRC entity to be able to see on the Northwest Talent Spotlight. Maybe people can go out now and subscribe to Bobby Pilata's channel. So go to Northwest Talent Spotlight.
Yeah.
They've got a couple weeks off. I know where they're rebuilding their production studio, but
To get ready for us.
yeah,
Right.
I think it's
A
gonna be
lot of pressure on them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I need a bigger drum riser. That's what it was.
Right.
they're getting
It's a
the
giant
ponds.
skull on the front.
It's the Stonehenge that they're creating.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think right now, if people go to Metts Ryan Collins, they can actually get both of your records. And is the live at the old church, is that available through that site as well? At least it's on the
look.
it's on the streaming
We should ask our
platforms.
webmaster.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the streaming platforms all have it. I know I found it on iTunes. And, right.
Much. Let's see. Yeah.
And then, do you guys maintain your Facebook and Instagram pretty well? Can people get a hold of you that way?
We're trying. That's the thing. Like, if we put something out, it's actually us saying it. So there's no please be patient.
You guys were early on. I loved that there was something at Christmas where you guys had your Christmas carols.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
At Mike Diamond's house.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, those are
Yeah.
so good.
I want to do a video. I'm just gonna pose this idea right now. I want to do a video that's just Mike Diamond dancing, star
Absolutely.
wipes, and like
Perfect.
that has and maybe just in karaoke letters down at the bottom, like the words of the song, like no reference to the material, just Mike Diamond dancing, because that is a power that has not been harnessed into
That's
the
true.
video platform the way it could be.
Well,
Hopefully, Mike's watching this right now. So
Michael
we can-
Diamond,
He just called. He's in. He's in.
Yeah.
He just called.
yeah, you just got drafted in the Kiss Army, Mike.
but you did the ultimate faux pas and you announced his name and not Marcus Funkytown James, which is his online persona.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right, NASA, can you delete that from the end of the record?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I really do hope that we get to see some video with him doing that with your music. There's it's something to behold. Yeah, they called him the party starter for a reason, right?
Oh, totally,
Absolutely.
man.
He could show up in a room and start dancing, even without music, and he brings
Right. Because it's a real thing. And I was thinking about that. I was like, man, like, he's been a buddy of ours forever. Right. He's a
Right.
collaborator. Like we have a secret handshake, Mike and I. And so, like,
Don't talk about that here. All these
Yeah.
secrets that you're letting out. My God, Geoff. What
All
are
right,
you thinking?
how about this? How about this? In the video where we get Mike Diamond just dancing, at one point we'll have a cameo part where I'll just walk in and do the shake, like in person.
It's gonna be it'll be the next TikTok dance. You know it. Yeah. That-
At least, yeah.
the handshake
He's
is
so
gonna
much
show up
fun.
on Fortnite.
Oh
The
yeah.
guy who's doing it.
Yeah. Mike Diamond really is he's a Portland treasure,
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing to think of all these other people that may be watching this around the world having no idea how special he is, but it's
Oh,
the truth,
yeah,
man.
dude.
Yeah. The room lights up when he comes in, and he adds a lot. I love his ukulele songs that he's been posting on Facebook
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he's so good.
So good.
And
Yeah.
one would never have known, but so Mike, if you're watching, we love you and we miss you.
Yes.
And that's one of the drags about the pandemic, but it's also a blessing that we're gonna look forward to introducing the rest of the world to
Sure.
Marcus Funky Town James and his collaboration with MRC. Right?
Yeah.
Know it.
You have a tentative title for the new record?
Let's do it.
Oh, no. We need
Yeah, I'm
one.
putting you on the spot. Call Maury; he'll help you. All right. It's gonna be called "Hey Man."
Hey, man.
Hey, man.
I want to thank Geoff, Dane, Mikey, you guys. I love you. Thank you so
I
much.
love you too, man.
Thanks for having us, bud.
Saturday afternoon, man. You guys could be out there, fly fishing, but
Thanks,
instead you're
man.
hanging out with me. I love it. If you go to MettsRyanCollins.com, you can check out their records and subscribe to their mailing list. I think, and you'll be hip to the new stuff that comes out at the end of August on the Northwest Talent Spotlight. Again, thanks to Five Star Guitars for supporting All Access Live. I really do.
Yeah.
You can't.
Sounds like an awesome place.
It does. If you're looking for great hats and great shirts, custom, and Ants in the Kitchen. If there's an opportunity for Ants in the Kitchen, make sure that you check out this band as well. They're a great funk soul review. So thanks to Geoff and Dane and Mike Collins for being here. You guys have a beautiful weekend.
Me too,
want
man. Thanks.
I want-
Love you guys.
to
Thanks,
let
brother.
let people know they can come in tomorrow. There's a Dumb and Drummer gathering, another drummers collective. On Monday, we'll be talking to Cutting Crew.
All right.
I just died in your arms tonight.
I know. I love those
Oh,
guys.
shit.
Yeah, the good stuff. We'll be talking to them from Manchester. And so a little bit different time.
Cool.
This week coming up, Steve Ferlazzo, Avril Lavigne's music director. He's the curator for the Lucky Strike Jam in Hollywood. And he's got a band, Drama Gods, with Nuno Betancourt, which is killer. That's on Tuesday. Wednesday, Michael Williams, the VJ from Much Music in Canada. Thursday, we've got Pondo, our bassist from the Flock of Seagulls, is going to be joining me.
Cool.
We're going to be talking about all
man.
the forthcoming gigs. And Friday, you guys know, man, Gil Assis Glasses, which is like one of the most incredible. Yeah,
I
he's-
worked with him. He's awesome.
He's incredible. That guy is such a
Awesome.
genius when it comes to
Sick.
like inventive keyboard work.
Yeah.
Jude Crossan on Saturday, Nathan Troop, Tango Alpha Tango on Sunday. Man, we got some good guys coming up.
Heck yeah.
Mike Collins, you saw the Kenny Aronoff interview the other day. He'll be back on again August 5th. And I just booked
Cool.
Melvin Brandon and Dave Aberzees to do the show together. So
Oh,
that'd be a good hang together.
Nice.
So all sorts of great shows. Just go to All Access Live on Facebook and subscribe, if you will, to this YouTube channel at youtube.com/All Access Live with Kevin Rankin. I'm still offering a contest. So when I hit 500 subscribers, anybody that signs up on YouTube, you'll be in this drawing for $50 gift certificates for Amazon. And maybe I'll throw in some MRC swag as well. So
do
come
it.
back again tomorrow.
Man.
Thanks again to MRC for being here. I love you guys. And
Love you too,
Love you
man.
too, man. Thanks. Keep it
Thanks
up,
for having
man.
us.
Keep
have
doing
a,
it.
have a great, healthy weekend, gentlemen.
You too.
All right, cheers.
All right. See you guys.